Welcome back to Turning Hard Times into Good Times. I'm your host, Jay Taylor, and I'm really pleased to have with me once again Andrew Maguire. Andrew sits on the advisory board of the Allocated Bullion Exchange, and he's a consultant and advisor to many different international hedge fund managers, bullion banks, directors, metal traders globally, all of whom rely on his highly recognized field of expertise in the markets. And so we're really pleased and privileged to have Andrew with us again. Thanks for joining us today, Andrew.
Jay, it's great to be with you again.
Always good to have you with me, although I must confess that you are a very accomplished gold trader. I am not a trader. I'm more of an investor. I own gold. I try to store some gold and own some instead of fiat money, which I know can be created in unlimited amounts. And I focus on gold mining companies, and I know that those guys have a real tough time of winning gold from the ground, a lot more difficult than the central bankers have in creating money out of thin air. So I don't think you need to be a rocket scientist to know which one of those currencies will hold their value, and gold will, and silver will to an extent. But starting from there, you are a trader, and you understand what's going on, the games that are played specifically within a paper market. If we just had a gold bullion market, and there weren't these derivative markets that are used, it would be a much simpler world, would it not be?
Well, absolutely. And I think, really coming off, especially even though you're not a trader and you'd be more of an investor, you have to note that you have to sort of wonder, why is the gold price moving down at a time when really safe havens should be in vogue? And so really, this is the thing. Even though you may not be a trader, I think it's important to look. And the one thing that's come clear over the years, and you alluded to it just now, is that a fair and honest price for gold has been circumvented by the ability to create limitless quantities of, note, undeliverable synthetic gold and silver supply. And what do we do? Again, I know because this is the question that's been coming, well, certainly since Monday. What are we seeing? And we witnessed this entire situation again this week. And this has come, though, at a price to the West. As the result is that the paper market mismatches have been capitalized on by the physical markets, which continue to suck liquidity out of the paper markets, leaving them, in my view, teetering on a dwindling supply of deliverable gold. Now, we're in the wholesale market, and we get to look at the wholesale side of this market. Now, obviously, when you're sitting in the US and you're looking, without any disrespect, one is blinkered to what's going on in the synthetic COMEX markets, which to me are really just a casino operation. And so really, but it's a no-brainer when you look and dig down. I won't even get into the major detail, but out of the 600 tons of gold cleared every single day in London, there's only a tiny 3 to 5 tons ever get physically delivered, and that is to do with exactly the what you're just talking about, which is the miners you're invested in, and obviously there's many other conduits now leaking away from this legacy system, which is heavily controlled legacy system, and but really what we're looking at is the physical exchanges. They require a seller to already deposited the gold he wishes to sell. What a novel idea. And then delivery is effected immediately. So, not so in the price-setting LBMA Loco London or COMEX paper markets. And what this means is that the physical market traders have moved to where the physical exchanges are. And it means that the all-important lifeblood liquidity is on a one-way trip to physical exchanges such as the SGE, ABX, the Allocated Bullion Exchange, which I know that we spoke about once when I was with you before, and all of the Asian exchanges where physical traders operate, congregate, and expect the gold and silver to be on deposit in the exchange before it can be offered up for sale. So really, one has to look at it in a more global view than this sort of, blinkered, massive US-centric view of the price of gold and silver is set in the COMEX markets.
Yeah,
it's not the case.
it's a virtual market. It's not a real market, what we're looking at, a paper market. But I want to get into that more and ask you about some of the things that China's doing, some of the global movements, and you alluded to the physical markets in Asia and your allocated bullion exchange market as well. But before we get to that, I know that you're involved with this Kinesis, I think it's called. It's as I understand it, a blockchain product with gold attached to it, and that it's really meant to provide a means of transactions, engaging in business and transacting business outside of the banking system. But it's one also that I understand provides some yield or some return to people who choose to use it. Could you talk to us a little bit about it, introduce Kinesis to us, and tell us how we might investigate it for our own personal use?
Sure, Jay. It's be a pleasure to do so. Now, the Kinesis Monetary System, and I speak from 40 years' experience here, this is a game changer. And it's one that we've all been waiting for. And you all know that my work in the past with whistleblowing, dealing with regulators, the lack of action, or the very, very protracted, slow process to deal with the sort of evidence we were providing them, even in 2011, which is only just starting to come out now. But here's the thing: this is what we've been waiting for, and we figured there's got to be another way. We have to do this ourselves. We have to empower ourselves to take on this corrupt system. And I'm really proud to be associated with Kinesis. Now, I'm going to keep this really high level and leave Kinesis' Tom Coughlin, CEO of Kinesis, to come on the show at some point to explain this exciting monetary system in more detail.
Sure.
But in the meantime, I would encourage listeners to visit the Kinesis.money website. But in a nutshell, and I'll keep it really to the point, this is a one-to-one gold and silver-backed currency that circumvents a broken banking system. Now, I see Kinesis not just providing the store of value and medium of exchange solution that will allow the remonetizing of physical gold and silver, but it will also put an end to this seemingly eternal synthetic gold and silver wash and rinse cycles. Now, Kinesis puts the aggregated power of physical concentration back into the hands of us, the people. And why speculate in paper gold and silver when you can own real physical gold and silver and earn a perpetual multifaceted yield? Now, each of us using Kinesis becomes the solution, and to play our part in ending this paper sham. Now, everywhere we look, whether we're individuals or the largest institutional entities, we are all exposed to counterparty risk. Every financial asset we own or think we own is exposed to this counterparty risk, including the fiat currencies you've deposited as loans to the banks holding your named bank accounts. Now, there are $250 trillion of global assets that have zero intrinsic value. That includes cash, bonds, shares, paper claims on physical assets such as gold and silver included in that. But goodness me, there's even 32 trillion of M1 that has zero intrinsic value. So yes, everything we just mentioned has utility value, but zero intrinsic value. So as it's all well and good if there was trust in the central planners spinning the plates for us, but it's become far too obvious that the wheels are coming off this wagon. Now, as a result, we're seeing increasing efforts by individuals, fund managers, corporations, and indeed countries to hedge this risk. And there is empirical evidence that physical gold and silver is being sought and removed from the reaches of central planners who are undoubtedly themselves eyeing a gold revaluation as probably the only possible solution to reset a broken system. Now, many individuals have also lost faith in the system and are pouring billions of dollars into decentralized cryptocurrencies to escape the tendrils of these central planners. And to name just two, there's Bitcoin, Ethereum. They're just two notables. But of course, they have zero intrinsic value in the sense that they're not backed by anything solid. So extremely volatile, as we saw again today. Now, however, once again, now, as I say, these cryptocurrencies have utility value, so you cannot discount that, but they also have zero intrinsic value. They're a welcome alternative to the legacy banking system, but as you just mentioned a minute ago, they don't solve two of the three elements required to be a sustainable global currency. They do provide a unit of account, but fail on the two most important elements: to provide a store of value and to be an efficient means of exchange. And no other gold-backed cryptocurrency defeats Gresham's law either. And the Kinesis Monetary System is the only currency that addresses all the factors that silver and gold, physically backed silver and gold, the factors that stop physical gold and silver acting as money. So by attaching a yield to gold and silver, it incentivizes its movement as a currency, and putting fully backed gold and silver on the blockchain, it enables this efficient means of exchange. So it's a system of individual and collective shared wealth that is diametrically opposed to the debt-based central bank to central bank Ponzi currency schemes. Now, just to really show this is not an idea, this is not a white paper that's hoping to spin out down the road. None of this would have been possible without first establishing the ABX, the Allocated Bullion Exchange. And Kinesis was born from ABX, which has a 7-year unblemished history as the world's leading electronic institutional exchange for allocated physical precious metals. And ABX has partnerships with Deutsche Börse, government postal systems, and many, many others. And that's all on the website to be seen. Published on the ABX website, but the Kinesis physical metal holdings will be inside the ABX secure quality assured environment and always titled to the client's name. So really, just to sum it up, Kinesis simply digitizes already allocated gold and silver, put on the blockchain, which is at all times fully titled to the holder, so it can be safely spent, it can be sent to a loved one, it can be sent as it can be used to pay a bill, or saved as an efficient way of generating a yield. Now, obviously, we're limited for time today, so I would encourage people to visit the Kinesis.money website, look for yourself, join our Telegram group with any questions you may have.
Kinesis.money is the place for people to go then, Kinesis.money.
It is indeed, yes.
So it's allocated gold, so if I were to make a payment, is the gold allocated and held at the Allocated Bullion Exchange? Is that the way it works?
Yes.
The physical gold is there, and so it would go to whoever buys the gold. I mean, does the person on the other end then need to be also a member of ABX?
No. The Kinesis currency itself will, and in fact, this is why it's quite a complex system. So I think really does suggest hopping on the website. But essentially, what you're doing is really you're digitizing. It's a form of a way to digitize physical gold into smaller, manageable units on the blockchain, so that it's auditable, and it can be spent on a Starbucks coffee with a proportional yield price on that, and as well, or a Learjet. I mean, so really, it's true money, and it can be used in any size, and you don't need to be a member. You can open up a mobile wallet as you would at your JP Morgan bank account or whatever it is. You just provide yourself your normal ID to open up a bank account, and you can spend. You can literally use this to pay your bills and and get a yield from spending your money or even holding it. So you don't have to be a member.
So, I'm familiar with Gold Money. We've had them on talking about Gold Money. I have an account at Gold Money. I can buy the gold and then transfer it to my prepaid or to my debit card, my debit MasterCard, and go and use it to buy things as I want. I don't use it usually. I just buy the gold and leave it sit there. And then my thinking is when gold becomes valuable or I need to use it, I'll use it. But in the meantime, it's a store of value. But what you're suggesting is I could do that and also get a yield while it sits somewhere at the ABX exchange.
Absolutely, and I think that is, again, we're talking about Gresham's law here. When you have the choice of a 5,000-year-old store of value of gold and you have a fiat currency, when you go to pay a bill, which one are you going to use? You're going to use your fiat currency. So I think this is the only way to solve that medium of exchange, which we just discussed. It's all well and good to have the Sprots, the gold monies, and all of these many other gold-backed cryptocurrencies cryptocurrencies out there, but because it brings attention, it throws a wider net out to people for gold, but most people hoard that, and I would hoard that, and unless I was actually incentivized to spend that and get a share of that transaction fee in perpetuity as it moved down the system, I wouldn't spend it. And so that was the key here, is to add that final component, and without having a global network of the ABX system in place, which is 7 global vaults, which are physical vaults, we aggregate a physical price that is global. That is what one requires to be able to trade in literally billions of dollars of gold and silver. And again, we're looking at, through our the fork of Stellar, we're looking at something like 3,000 odd transactions per second.
The gold is located in one place, or is it various places around the globe?
It's various places around the globe. Our 7 ABX vaults, there's 8 really. There's one in Liechtenstein, which is primarily for silver. But there's 8 global vaults for ABX. Each one of them meets a quality assurance framework, i.e. is it audited, and the bullion is in the name of the client. It doesn't sit on the balance sheet of the ABX exchange. It doesn't sit on the balance sheet of Kinesis. This is when you send or spend this gold or silver as well, and this is the other really exciting part. We've also digitized silver, and when you spend this through the system, you're transferring that physical gold and physical silver to the next person to use, and who is incentivized again to spend it again. So it is really monetizing gold and silver.
All right, we only have, my engineer tells me we only have about 3 minutes left. I can't believe it. That's all we have. Talk to us a little bit about, you wrote a paper. Before we get started on that, you wrote an article this last weekend. Is there a place where people can go to read your work?
I tend to, unfortunately, it's a subscription service because I provide that to to my institutional clients, but
sure.
But I mean, I do make public things all the time. So come and check on the website, and we certainly do make things public from time to time.
All right. Well, you wrote an article this weekend, which you were kind enough to send along to me, and I had a chance to glance at it a little bit. It looks like you're suggesting the Chinese may have some role to play in the recent weakness in the gold price. Could you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, and I know we have
left.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, it's a long story, but here, basically, I'll sum it up very, very quickly. While these commercials are taking the long side of spec selling, China is playing the synthetic game and stretching out the downside momentum by using the commercials' own tricks against them by gaming specs into adding supply, and currently it's the downsloping 10-day moving averages. Now, I know you're not a trader, but this is what's happening here is China is vacuuming physical gold out into a one-to-one devaluing yen. Now, the carefully managed tit-for-tit yuan devaluation, that's tit-for-tat yuan devaluation versus dollar, is being masterfully capitalized on by China, who, as measured by Swiss refinery backlogs, are sucking up physical in size that will end the year evidencing SGE gold withdrawals to at least equal 2013 levels and possibly top record 2015 levels. SGE withdrawals do not account for unreported central bank inflows either.
Mm-hmm. So the Chinese, I guess what they would be doing is driving the market lower by taking getting involved in the paper short market, and then that would encourage other people to start selling gold and driving the price and making it available, and then they vacuum it out. Is that the idea?
Yeah, and the FX peg versus the dollar is under threat. Clearly, China's reopened the gold window. The SGEI is the conduit for exchanging gold in yuan. This is the physical gold from the West. That's the UK, the US, the Bank of International Settlements. China pays in yuan, which in turn increases the supply of yuan, converts it to gold, sourced out of the West. None of this gold would be allowed to exit China. This is a clear attack on US hegemony and is hoisting the West on its own petard. Yes, we're witnessing this right now.
Wow. And so the petro yuan, I think you indicated you don't see that as any threat to the U.S. dollar anytime soon, though.
No, we see this September expiry being rolled over to December right now, but nevertheless, this is just one more string in the bow. The art of war, Sun Tzu.
Yeah, the art of war. It's a currency war, as many people are saying, if perhaps more than, hopefully, not a hot war. But in any event, very, very provocative ideas and very interesting things that you're giving us here today. Andrew, I want to thank you so much for being with us, and I hope we can have you back again sometime to go into more depth on this, and also your colleague to talk a little bit more about Kinesis. It should be very interesting and an opportunity I think our listeners want to know more about. So thank you so much for being with us, Andrew. All the best to you, and again sometime soon, I hope.